think about this for a second. The very start of our human story seems rooted in conflict.
Mm.
Not massive wars, but between two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're really diving into, well, the cornerstone narrative.
Mm.
It's from Genesis chapter 4, the story of Cain and Abel.
Exactly. And, this isn't just about ancient texts or specific doctrines. What we want to do in this deep dive is really dig into the core themes here.
Right.
We're looking for insights into the sibling rivalry, obviously, but also divine favor, the consequences of our actions, how human society even got started, and these early ideas about justice and vengeance.
Okay, so let's get into it. First up, we meet Cain and Abel, first sons of Adam and Eve.
Right.
Cain, the text says, works the soil.
Yeah.
A farmer. Abel, he's a keeper of flocks, a shepherd. Seems pretty straightforward. Early life, land, animals.
Yeah, but it's interesting, isn't it? These two very different ways of life. Cain's tied to the ground, maybe more settled. Abel moving to the flock, maybe more, I don't know, nomadic.
Could that difference itself set something up?
Well, it might have shaped how they saw the world, perhaps even led to some underlying tension. It's something to consider anyway.
Then we get to the offerings. This is pivotal.
Definitely.
Cain brings some of the fruits of the soil, just some fruit. Abel, though, he offers fat portions from some of the firstborn of his flock.
Ah, see, that wording difference is key, isn't it? Some fruit versus firstborn and fat portions.
There's a real contrast there.
Absolutely. And then the text tells us, straight up, the Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor.
Boom. That's the moment.
That's the spark. And Cain gets incredibly angry. His face falls, that famous downcast look.
And this is the big question, the one people have debated for centuries. Why? Why favor Abel?
The text doesn't explicitly tell us, which is fascinating in itself.
Was it the quality? Like Abel brought the best, the firstborn, the fat portions. Was it more costly for him?
Or was it attitude? Cain's heart, maybe. We just don't know from the text itself. It leaves you wondering.
It really does. It's such a powerful ambiguity right at the start.
Yeah, and it makes you think about how these early humans understood or tried to understand the divine. This idea that favor could just be given or withheld, seemingly without a clear why from their perspective. Cain's anger feels so raw, so human.
Totally relatable. That feeling of being overlooked or unfairly judged. And the Lord's response isn't just stop being angry. It's more like a challenge, right? He asks, why are you angry? Why is your face downcast?
Yeah, and then the key part. If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door.
Whoa, that image. Sin, like an animal waiting.
It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. It's incredible. Right there, this idea of choice, of struggle against our own negative impulses.
Personifying sin like that as this external force almost, but still saying you have to master it.
Exactly. It puts the responsibility squarely on Cain, moral agency right at the dawn of the story.
But he doesn't rule over it.
No.
He invites Abel out. Let's go out to the field, he says. And
then, just starkly, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him.
The first murder. Brother against brother. It's just devastating. A foundational act of violence.
The simplicity of the language is chilling, isn't it? Killed him. It's a rupture. Death, intentional harm, enters the human story, changes everything.
And the Lord's question right after, where is your brother Abel? Of course, he knows, but it's about accountability.
It forces the confrontation.
And Cain's response is just, wow, I don't know, am I my brother's keeper? So defiant, so evasive.
That line, am I my brother's keeper, it echoes down through history, doesn't it? The ultimate shrug of responsibility.
Total denial. Zero remorse shown there.
It speaks volumes about his state of mind, just focused on himself.
So the consequences come swift. He's cursed from the ground, the very thing he worked.
Yeah, the ground won't yield crops for him anymore. He's going to be a restless wanderer on the earth.
And that image of the ground itself reacting, opening its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand.
So powerful. The earth itself is polluted by the act, and being alienated from the ground for a farmer, that's huge.
It's like a total disconnection. No roots, no stability.
Right. That restless wanderer fate, it taps into a deep human fear, I think. Loss of home, loss of belonging.
Cain feels it too. He says, my punishment is more than I can bear. He's afraid anyone who finds him will kill him.
He gets it now, doesn't he? He understands violence can be turned back on you, the potential for retribution.
But then, and this is another twist, the Lord steps in to protect him.
Yeah, it's surprising. Not so, God says. Anyone who kills Cain, vengeance will be taken 7 times over, and he puts a mark on Cain.
A mark? What was that?
Well, the text doesn't say. It's another mystery, could be physical, could be a sign, could be something else. But its purpose is protection,
Huh.
a warning.
So it's justice, but complicated. Not just eye for an eye. There's this divine limit placed on vengeance, even for the first murderer.
Exactly. It suggests a move away from just endless blood feuds, maybe, towards some kind of controlled, divinely managed consequence. It's paradoxical, protecting the murderer, but it limits the cycle of violence.
Okay, so Cain leaves, goes east of Eden to the land of Nod, which means wandering, right?
Aptly named.
But then he builds a city. He names it after his son, Enoch. The wanderer becomes a city builder.
It's a real paradox, isn't it? The outcast, the one cursed from the ground, founds the first-named settlement.
What does that suggest?
Maybe that the human drive to create, to build community, to establish order, it persists even after a terrible failure. It's part of moving forward, maybe?
And the story follows his line down to Lamech. And here we see, well, human innovation exploding.
Right. Lamech's sons, you've got Jabal. He's the father of tent dwellers and livestock herders, basically nomadic pastoralism.
Okay.
Then Jubal, father of all who play stringed instruments and pipes, music, art.
Wow. Okay.
And Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools out of bronze and iron, metallurgy, technology, craftsmanship.
So these fundamental human activities, herding, music, metalworking, they're traced back to Cain's line.
According to this narrative, yes, it's fascinating. It suggests that, well, progress, innovation, culture, they develop even within this lineage marked by the first sin. Humanity keeps creating, keeps advancing.
But then there's Lamech himself, his boast. It's pretty chilling.
Oh, yeah. He tells his wives, I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for injuring me.
Just like that. And then he says,
If Cain is avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times.
whoa, 77 times. That's not the limited divine vengeance for Cain. That's out of control.
Totally. It's personal pride, escalating retribution, a really dangerous turn towards unrestrained, self-declared vengeance, a stark contrast to the earlier divine intervention.
It shows how that cycle of violence can just spiral, I guess.
Definitely.
Okay, but the chapter doesn't end there. It loops back. Adam and Eve have another son, Seth.
Right. Positioned as a replacement for Abel, whom Cain killed, a sense of continuation, maybe hope.
And Seth has a son, Enosh. And then this line, right at the end. At that time, people began to call on the name of the Lord.
Yeah, that's significant. After all the violence, the wandering, the building, the boasting, there's this turning back, or perhaps turning towards the divine in a new way.
Like maybe formalized worship starts here, a conscious effort to reconnect.
It suggests a new phase, yeah, a reestablishment of that relationship after the rupture caused by Cain.
So stepping back from this deep dive, it's amazing how much is packed in here.
It really is.
You've got sibling rivalry, divine judgment, or at least favor the weight of consequences, the start of cities, innovation, music, technology.
And these really early, complex ideas about justice, protection, and then the scary escalation of vengeance, it's all there in this one short chapter.
And what strikes me is how these themes, these struggles, they don't feel ancient, do they? Rivalry, consequences, violence, innovation, searching for meaning or connection, that's still us.
Absolutely. It's a primal story, and those primal elements continue to play out. It's a lens, a really powerful one, for looking at ourselves even now.
Which leads to, I guess, a final thought for you listening. When you think about this story conflict, building things, making music, developing technology, wrestling with justice and consequences, how do you see those same threads playing out today? What are the modern marks we carry, as individuals, as societies, from our own conflicts and our own creations?
Something to reflect on. How much of Cain and Abel and Seth and Lamech is still shaping our world?
Something to think about. The echoes of Nod, east of Eden, are maybe closer than we think.